Thank you so much for having time to be with us. Good evening and welcome to the program Ask the Ministers of God right here on MBCI TV. We are glad that you found time to be with us tonight. This is a program where we bring you servants of God to help you make sense of quite a number of topics. Some of them you may find them challenging, but here we are to help you. And tonight we want to look at forms of spiritual sacrifice. In another program on Ask the Ministers of God show, we looked at whether one is supposed to offer a sacrifice for them to be prayed for. And today we want to go into this particular topic quite deeper and look at what are some of the forms of spiritual sacrifice and what you need to know about them. And I have a panel servants of God to help us go through this particular topic tonight, and I want to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves and also to say hi to our viewers, and then we'll be able to get into the meat of our discussion this day. Let me start with the lady just close to me. Karibu sana, and say hi to our viewers.
Hi, our viewers. My name is BEATRICE WAMBUI. I am a minister in Horeim Ministry, House of Refuge. I minister under Apostle GICHIMU and Reverend Nancy, and I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister BEATRICE. Pleasure to have you tonight on this particular set. Karibu sana, our second guest.
Thank you, MANGICHO. Yes. My name is Apostle GICHIMU, and our viewers, we welcome you to this program.
Thank you so much, Apostle GICHIMU, our resident minister in this particular show. Remember, our dear viewer, you can also follow us on our social media platform, that is Facebook page on MBCI TV. Drop a comment or two, and we'll be glad to see your views and opinions on this particular discussion. Apostle, let me just start with you. I know there is a related discussion we had as far as sacrifice is concerned, but today we really also, because this is a wide topic,
it's a very wide
so many
topic,
people are affected in one way or another.
Correct.
And I think maybe we could just begin by giving maybe a simple definition of what we mean when you talk about a spiritual sacrifice from the biblical perspective.
From a biblical perspective, spiritual sacrifice or spiritual sacrifices are deeds or words that are motivated purely by nothing other than the desire to glorify God and God alone. That is the definition I would like to give.
Wow.
Maybe I repeat again. These are deeds or words motivated in one to have the desire, just to glorify and glorify God alone.
To glorify God.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
God and God alone. Yes.
Wow.
That's what I would define as spiritual sacrifice.
Thank you so much, Apostle, for giving us such a great definition there. Let me just bring Minister BEATRICE into this. What do you think is a place of spiritual sacrifice in a Christian's life?
Yeah, the place of spiritual sacrifice. We learn from God. We came from God. And therefore, we follow his example. John 3:16 says, for God so loved. So, love, as Apostle has said, love propels you to give. So the love that God had for us propelled him to give the best. He never reserved what was the best. He gave the best. And therefore, it's from the dimension of love that you feel you want to give and you're not coerced. Yeah? You just want to give. And so we learn from there to give sacrifices that are out of love and yes, from a pure heart.
From a pure heart.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good definition there. I want to believe that our viewer now, at least you can be in a position to understand when you talk about spiritual sacrifice. And there are quite a number of forms, Apostle Dan, that spiritual sacrifice can take.
Yes.
What are some of them?
One of them, very key, is prayer. There is a verse in the book of Revelation about the elders who are surrounding the throne, and they were holding bowls. And the bowls that were holding were the incense of the prayers of the saints. So when you talk of prayer as a sacrifice, is an incense that you are offering to God, and it reaches before the presence of the Lord as an acceptable sacrifice. So prayer is, of course, one of the spiritual sacrifice that one can offer. So when you are not praying, then you are denying God that incense that is supposed to appear before him, and then he responds. Because whenever we pray, God also responds. So when you fail to pray, then don't expect any response from God.
From God.
Yes.
Prayer becomes very, very vital as a key spiritual sacrifice that one is supposed to offer.
Correct.
Maybe I can also bring Minister Beatrice.
Yeah, the psalmist in Psalms 51:17 defines the kind that God desires that we offer. That God desires that we offer sacrifices from a broken and a contrite heart. So even as we offer sacrifices to God, it starts from inside. Before I take my tithe, before I take my offering, it must start from the heart that is surrendered, the heart that is broken, and the heart that is contrite. And he, according to the psalmist, is saying that heart God is not able to reject. It's the heart that he receives. He's not able to reject it. So even as I go to give any other offering, it must start from within. As we say, from a relationship with God. If you're going to give somebody something, and as a gift, there must be a relationship. So you, from the relationship and from how this person is. If it's a president, there's how you prepare, it's how you dress up according to the occasion. So this is the King of Kings, this is the Lord of Lords. And his first demand of the kind he would want is first from the heart that is broken.
Wow. And even getting you from that explanation, Minister Beatrice, even before, it's like oneself. It is like the primary sacrifice that one should actually be able to give, giving your own life first of all, to be able now even maybe to give the other kind of sacrifices.
Yeah, because there are these two men or boys, I would call them, that were taught how to sacrifice to God. And this is Cain and Abel. And we can see that, yes, we can give sacrifice, but it's not every sacrifice that God receives. So purity of the heart determines whether your sacrifice is acceptable or not. So it's not a God who is just waiting for any sacrifice. No, there is a preparation before we go to this God. And we can see from the perspective of Cain and Abel, it's like Abel knew, who am I going to? That is the first thing. As I start a journey to go, who am I going to? What kind of respect does he deserve? What kind of a sacrifice? You see, he's the owner of everything. So I'm not going to give because he's lacking. Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. And Apostle, that brings in another dimension whereby we want to find out how much preparation, therefore, is one supposed to do, is one supposed to make as a Christian. Now looking at the weight of a sacrifice, how important a sacrifice is to God, because it basically means that God can reject a sacrifice. And therefore one needs to prepare themselves very well.
Oh, certainly. Certainly. When God looks at you, he also expects you to have met the prerequisites, the requirements. God has his standards. He never lowers his standards.
Right.
And you must meet that standard before you can offer any sacrifice to him. Even as much as we talk of prayer as a sacrifice to God, you know, from where that prayer is coming, you know, that ground must be proper. That incense, that bowl of incense must be proper. If it is not proper, then for sure that person is just wasting his time. You remember even in the olden days, according to the Old Testament, before the priest could offer any sacrifices, first of all, they had to have a time of purifying themselves. So once they have purified themselves, then they qualify now. they can go to the Holy of Holies and then over the sacrifice. But even then also, they had to be tied with a chain. Because people were not sure that although they purified themselves, maybe they were not pure enough, because if they went there with unholiness, then they would just be struck by the power of God and they would die. So when they wait for him, for such a priest for too long, and he's not responding, what they would do is just to pull him out of the curtain, the curtain that was separating the Holy of Holies, and then get the body to go and bury it. So preparation is very important. Very, very, very important.
And
we must be perfect.
Sure, even as we talk about preparation, because this is something that many people would want to see it as, and I think Minister Beatrice had also alluded to that, the significance of holiness, as we've talked about. God is holy, and he
Certainly.
wouldn't want to entertain anything that is unholy.
Yes.
Yes.
God is holy, and we must be holy. In fact, the Bible says, you must be holy, for I am
Holy.
holy. God does not compromise with that standard. Everyone who wants to offer prayers as a living sacrifice to God, or as a spiritual sacrifice to God, must have met that standard. Because if God says, you must be holy, for I am holy, in Leviticus chapter 11, verses 44 and 45, it talks of that as the base from which you must operate. Now, when you're on that platform, now you can be that incense that burns all the time. So, in fact, when I read in the book of Luke chapter 18 and verse 1, that says, men ought to pray always and faint not. When I also read 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verses 17, men have to pray without ceasing. Is that since now you are prepared as that incense that must keep on burning all the time, and offering that sweet assent before God, then of course you will pray, and the sacrifices of your prayers will definitely reach before the presence of the Lord, and God will respond.
Wow.
Yeah. Some of the reasons why people don't get any answer to their prayers, you know, they are not ready. They have not prepared.
Actually,
themselves.
that is where I wanted us to come. Maybe we can take a short break and then we'll come into that. Sacrifices, do they have results? Because some people would say that we have sacrifice. Why are we not seeing the effects? Why are we not seeing the results? What could be the problem?
Okay.
We're taking a short break at this particular point. We are looking at, of course, we've defined what a spiritual sacrifice is. We're looking at forms of spiritual sacrifice, and this is on MBCI TV. The program is Ask the Ministers of God. Helping us to make sense of our discussion tonight is Apostle GICHIMU, our resident minister. We're also having on board Minister BEATRICE WAMBUI, and thank you so much for your feedback on our platform, that is on our Facebook platform, that is MBCI TV. Let's take that short break. At this particular juncture, we're coming back with plenty more.